Hello. So I don't know whether to say this is something about weekend overeating, but it can be overeating in general, or emotional eating, or binge eating, whatever you want to call it. And it comes down to the words we use around food, our our labeling of food, or just restricting ourselves a little too much. And I guess also because social media just they spit advice that is so controversial to each other. And also, the people speaking on social media come from a place where they've been doing things for years. They've developed habits, they've developed an identity that is one of health and fitness. They are health and fitness, and then we listen to advice from them thinking that we can easily apply it to ourselves. And if we're not matched up to their way of normal, we start to criticize ourselves. You can't make yourself a square peg fitting into someone else's circle hole, because you're not a square and you're not a circle. You're a peg. You're an individual peg. So as soon as you stop labeling yourself as like this square or this circle, trying to fit in other people's squares and circles, you actually can listen into yourself and realize what it is you need right now. So my whole point is, if someone says moderation, or you should be able to still have these foods in moderation or in balance, or this, that, the other, yeah, okay, some people are at a point where they can do that, but maybe you aren't. And when people spit that advice to other people, trying to make them feel guilty for not being able to eat their foods in moderation, that's when shit goes down the toilet. Like, they start to say, what's wrong with me? Why am I broken? Why can't I do this? And then all of these other doubts come in, like, I can never stick to a plan. Well, no shit. Like, you're trying to have a donut when you know that donut leads to you eating a whole box. So you need to know yourself. Like, if you cannot actually have a food around, that's okay, because there is no such thing as a life sentence. You are never stuck. You develop, you grow. What you can manage right now, you might be able to manage more in the future, or manage less in the future. Your goalposts now will shift. So maybe one stage in your journey, you can't moderate your food. You might need to keep it out of the environment, because there's don't leave yourself up to willpower. There is no real such thing as willpower. You are up to the circumstances of your environment and of your stress. If you're stressed out, if you don't have those foods around, and if you audit your environment to serve you, and if you realize, yeah, okay, maybe I should not have these foods around because I can't control myself around them, you don't really have anything to binge out on. And soon, when you develop confidence within yourself and you develop those habits, you develop the identity, you break your way through these bottlenecks that you give yourself around food, and you develop that healthy relationship. Once you start to gather confidence in yourself that you can do the things you said you were going to do. And it doesn't just pertain to food. Like, people think it's all about the food. No. You need to start keeping the promises to yourself that you make. If you break one of those promises, what is that telling you about yourself? If you give up during something when you could have pushed through that discomfort, what is that telling you about yourself? Like, you need to be able to push through discomfort, for one, but you need to show yourself that you actually do what you said you're going to do. Because otherwise you'll always have like that anticipation of, oh, I'm going to have to not do this in the morning because I'll overeat later. And that brings me into the whole sabotaging on weekends. Like, people restrict a lot during the week because they have this anticipation of, oh, I'm going to overeat on the weekend, so let's just like keep my food really low during the week. So then what happens during the week? You feel restricted, you feel deprived, and then you treat the weekend like it's an end-all be-all. Or, women especially, we tend to adapt ourselves to this normal level of stress, of overwhelm, saying, oh, no, it's a normal week, when your normal week is freaking manic in itself. And then your body just wants a relief on the weekend. So, of course, you're going to have that tendency to go for the donut, go for the Tim Tam, overeat, because you're not having that structure there. You're not having that same mindset. And, hey, you've been restricting this whole time, so, it's okay to overeat. Like, no. And the same goes with nighttime eating. if you live in anticipation of, I'm going to binge after dinner, so let's have a smaller dinner, let's have smaller meals during the day, you're leaving that window open because, number one, your food is already undernourished. It hasn't gotten enough fuel during the day. Chemical processes in your body are really freaking smart. And if you do not get the essential minerals, there are obese people that are undernourished. They are in a nutrient deficit and overweight. It really matters what you eat, not just how much. Which is why I say as soon as you focus on what you're eating and why you're eating, the how much just falls into place. It's not about just the calories in, calories out side of the equation. You need to zoom out and look at the whole box. And realize it's not even just about a box. Like, it's real life. You can't just put a label to it saying, oh, it's all about the calories. Because if that's the way you're thinking, then you're going to be thinking, oh, I need to fit all of this in, and then I'm going to overeat at night, or I'm going to overeat on the weekend. Like, no. Why are you eating what you eat? If it's a trigger for you, don't include it. It's not about moderation. It's about you knowing yourself. I used to have a girl on board that could not have peanut butter in the house. So she didn't buy it. And her kids love peanut butter, so what did they do? They hid it for her because they had that open communication around it. But now she eats peanut butter every day, twice a day. Like, you, at one point in your life, you need to have a certain coping mechanism, and then those coping mechanisms are allowed to shift. Something that worked for you in the past may not work for you now. Something that didn't work for you in the past may actually work for you now. But we always seem to just stay married to this one form of method because it's how we always did it. I hope that helps. Kept it short, and it's a Friday. Happy Friday. Use that thought process going into the weekend. And if you already did the things that I said you shouldn't do during the week, make a plan today. Make a plan today for your weekend. Because my last live spoke about having a plan. So go find that if you didn't watch it. But make a plan for this weekend. And this weekend, make a plan for next week. So you don't repeat the same story. And don't start your Monday with guilt and regret. Because that's just like starting a marathon, having zero sleep and not having been fed. You ain't gonna run a good marathon. Happy Friday and have a glorious weekend.